Hello everyone, welcome back to Mediplaceboo. In today's video, I'll be teaching you about the bones of the upper limb. Before starting off with the bones of the upper limb, I want to introduce some basic terminologies regarding the limbs. The limb is included in the appendicular skeleton of the body. The limb can be divided into the basal segment or the girdle, that is, the part which attaches the limb to the axial skeleton. Next, we have the mobile part or the free part, which is further subdivided into three types, that is, the proximal, the middle, and the distal. The basal part of the limb provides the stability to the limb, whereas the mobile part is involved in the movement of the limb. Now, in the upper limb, based upon the main component bones and the joints, it is divided into four regions, that is, first, the shoulder, in which we have the clavicle and the scapula. Next, we have the arm region, in which we have the humerus. Next, we have the forearm region, in which the radius and the ulna are present. And lastly, we have the hand, in which the carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges are present. Also, we have various joints to be studied in the upper limb, out of which the three important ones are the glenohumeral joint, the elbow joint, and the wrist joint. The glenohumeral joint is present between the glenoid cavity of the scapula and the head of the humerus. In this video, I'll be giving you a brief summary about the bones of the upper limb, and in the upcoming videos, I'll be teaching you the bones in much more detail. So, starting off with clavicle, the clavicle articulates with the axial skeleton at the sternoclavicular joint medially, and laterally it joins with the acromioclavicular joint, which is formed between the acromion process of the scapula and the lateral part of the clavicle. Now, let us move towards the scapula. In the scapula, we have the acromion process highlighted in yellow, articulating with the lateral part of the clavicle, and we have the crest of spine, which divides the scapula into two regions, that is, the supraspinous region, which means present above the crest of the spine, and the infraspinous region present below the region of crest of spine. Now, let us take a look at the humerus. In the humerus, we have the proximal joint, that is, the glenohumeral joint, formed between the glenoid cavity and the head of the humerus. Next, distally, it forms the elbow joint along with the radius and the ulna, in which at the posterior surface of the humerus we have the olecranon fossa, to which articulates the olecranon process of the ulna bone. We can also divide the humerus into furthermore parts, that is, we have its anatomical neck, the surgical neck, the shaft of humerus, then we have the lateral epicondyle and the medial epicondyle. The region of forearm starts from the elbow joint and ends at the wrist joint, whereas in case of the arm, it starts from the shoulder joint and ends at the elbow joint. We can also term arm as brachium and the forearm as the antebrachium. At the upper end of the radius and ulna, they meet the lower end of the humerus and form the elbow joint, whereas the lower ends of the radius and ulna meet with the carpal bone to form the wrist joint. Hence, we can also say that at the distal part of the radius and ulna, they are involved in the radio-ulnar joint. At the region of forearm, the proximal radio-ulnar joint permits movement laterally and medially. So, the radius is the one which moves around the ulna mainly at the proximal radio-ulnar joint, and a very subtle movement at the distal radio-ulnar joint. It produces the movements known as pronation and supination. Supination refers that the arm is facing anteriorly, whereas pronation refers the arm is facing posteriorly. The easy way to remember the movements supination and pronation is by remembering that you have a bowl of soup present in your hand, so your palm would be facing upwards. Next, we have the hand, which is also known as the manus or manus. It comprises of the wrist formed by the 8 carpal bones. Next, we have the hand proper, which is formed by the 5 metacarpals. And lastly, we have the phalanges. There are 14 phalanges, means all the digits of our finger except the thumb has 3 phalanges. So in all, we have 14 phalanges. The carpal bones form the wrist joint with the radioulnar joint. Apart from it, we have the intercarpal joint that is present between the 2 carpal bones. Next, we have the carpo-metacarpal joint present between carpal and metacarpal bones. The phalanges form the metacarpophalangeal joint with the metacarpals and the interphalangeal joints with one another. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe. And also, if you want such anatomical sketches, you can also follow us on Insta to get such anatomical sketches along with other information. Thank you.